A damning new report alleges that Donald Trump pressed then Governor Doug Ducey to overturn the 2020 presidential election results in the state of Arizona, a state where Trump narrowly lost in 2020. So what are the allegations? Well, Trump called Ducey and said that if enough fraudulent votes could be found, it would overcome his narrow loss in that state. Now, Trump also repeatedly asked Vice President Mike Pence to call Ducey and essentially prod him for updates and the evidence to substantiate Donald Trump's claims that fraudulent votes led to Biden winning that state. Now, Pence did end up calling Ducey several times to discuss the election, but two sources who spoke to the Washington Post on condition of anonymity say that Pence did not follow Trump's directions to pressure the governor. Now, the two sources also say that Ducey did not record the call. Now, Trump phoned the governor's cell phone on November 30th. As Ducey was in the middle of signing documents certifying the presidential election and Biden's win in the state. And this was, as you can see, during a live stream ceremony. As you watch, he gets a phone call. He's about to look at the phone and then he just decides to ignore it. That was Donald Trump calling him. The people watching the video and those in the room heard "Hail to the Chief" play on the governor's ringtone when Ducey pulled out the phone. And that was an indication that the person calling him, the incoming call, was in fact Donald Trump. Now, on December 2nd, Ducey told reporters that he spoke to the president after the ceremony, but he declined to fully detail the nature of the conversation. Ducey said the president had an inquisitive mind, but did not ask the governor to withhold his signature certifying the election results. And then pay close attention to this, because this is like really the heart of the new revelations as reported by the Washington Post. But 4 people familiar with the call said Trump spoke specifically about the shortfall of more than 10,000 votes in Arizona, and then espoused a range of false claims that would show he overwhelmingly won the election in the state, and encouraged Ducey to study them. At the time, Trump's attorneys and allies spread false claims to explain his loss, including that voters who had died, and non-citizens had cast ballots. Now, Ducey allegedly spoke about this during a dinner with Republican donors. Ducey described the pressure he was under after Trump's loss to a prominent Republican donor over a meal in Arizona earlier this year. According to the donor, who, like others interviewed for this story, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss private conversations. And while I don't begrudge the Washington Post for reporting this, I do think that it's important to know who the donors are, because remember, just taken in context, right now there is a big effort by billionaire Republican donors. I mean, they're currently raising money right now, tens of millions of dollars, in order to defeat Trump in the Republican primaries. I don't know if those donors are involved in the anonymous sources of the story, but that is important information to know. That being said, we do have evidence of Trump calling him as he's trying to certify as the governor, the former governor of Arizona, was trying to certify the election results in the state of Arizona. I've got more details for you in just a moment, but Cenk, jump in.
Yeah, I mean, are we having a conversation about this? We know what Trump did. He tried to bully the governors into cheating and declaring him the winner, even though he knew he lost. So in Georgia, he just flat out told the guy, "Find me the votes. Just find them, who cares?" Right? So he was trying to cheat. They had fake electors ready. The fake electors signed federal papers like they were the real electors. It's a legal political coup d'etat, no question about it. Later in the show, we're gonna have a story about Bolsonaro in Brazil. Did about 1% of what Trump did and banned from politics for nearly a decade. So now if you're a Trump supporter or objective person, you say, wait a minute, okay, but can't you call the governor and say, are you sure? Yeah, you can. So there is a line, right? And so it's not, you can't ever call the governor, and you can't call the governor or whoever's counting the votes and say, find me the goddamn votes. I don't care how you find them, just find them, right? So where's the line? The line is, yeah, you can inquire, right? But you can't bully, you can't pressure, you can't say find me votes that don't exist. You can't make up evidence about mules or whatever, or dumps and all the crazy stuff that Trump said. He was trying to steal the election. It is not in dispute. Every sentient person knows it. The only question is, what kind of political games are we gonna play and how much is he going to be able to get away with it?
Right, and since the call or calls weren't recorded, I mean, it's all you can do is speculate, right? Because it really depends on what Trump was really saying there. Was he saying, find me or make up fraudulent votes in order to overturn the election results in Arizona? Or did he genuinely think that there were fraudulent ballots cast and he wanted to have the state do an investigation into that? Like, I'm thinking about what the defense would say in this context, because of course we have other evidence. You mentioned the fake electors. Donald Trump, of course, also called the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, at the time and urged him to find votes. In fact, we do have that video. I'm going a little out of order here, but why don't we take a quick look at that?
So look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
Awfully specific. The number is awfully specific there.
Okay, yeah. So look, guys, that's where it goes. So first of all, on the recording point that Anna made, thank God the Raffensperger recorded it in Georgia, because now that it's not recorded in Arizona, they're like, doesn't count. And then when it's recorded in Georgia, they're like, can you believe he recorded it? Why? Because you're worried your guy is gonna get caught, because you know he's a criminal and you know he wanted to do a coup and you love the idea of the coup. So like, God damn it, why did they record it in Georgia? Now they have evidence. And guys, so how do you know, where's the line? How do you know, right? Going and asking, hey, are you sure? Can you do another count? Can you do a hand count? Fine, right? Find me 11,780 votes, because then I'll win by 1 vote, is way, way past the line. Here's what's not past the line. Hey guys, I want another recount or a manual recount or something along those lines, because I want to make sure who won, right? And if it turns out Biden won, hey, it is what it is, but let's make sure. That's a totally fine conversation. Look, just find me 11,780 votes so I win by 1 is not a fine conversation.
Right.
And that's what Trump did all across the country, and you all know it. If you're MAGA, you know it too. You just like it. You're like, that's my guy. He'll do anything so we can win and be in charge again. Just be honest.
Now let's pivot to the reaction to all of this. So Ducey is no longer in office. He's no longer the governor of Arizona, and he did decline to answer specific questions about this report. But a spokesperson for the former governor did respond and said, quote, "This is neither new nor is it news to anyone following this issue the last 2 years. Governor Ducey defended the results of Arizona's 2020 election. He certified the election, and he made it clear that the certification provided a trigger for credible complaints backed by evidence to be brought forward. None were ever brought forward." And so what is Trump saying? Well, a spokesperson for Trump declined to respond to questions about the call with Ducey, and instead falsely declared in a statement that the 2020 presidential election was rigged and stolen.
Of course.
He also said that this is a witch hunt meant to hurt Trump's chances of winning the 2024 presidential election. And what about Pence? Because remember, part of the allegations here is that Trump pressured Pence to pressure former Arizona Governor Ducey. And Pence was asked about that during a recent interview over the weekend. Let's watch.
You are clearly saying you did not pressure the governor, but were you being pressured by Mr. Trump to get those, to influence Doug Ducey? And did you talk about this with the special counsel?
No, I don't remember any pressure. Look, the president and I, things came to a head at the end, Margaret. I've spoken about very openly, and the president and I continue to have a strong difference. I'll always believe that by God's grace, I did my duty under the Constitution that day in presiding over a joint session of Congress in the aftermath of the mayhem and the rioting. But in the days of November and December, this was an orderly process. You'll remember there were more than 60 lawsuits underway. States were engaging in appropriate reviews, and that these contacts were no more than that.
So Pence is denying that he applied any pressure to Governor Ducey, but more importantly, he provides some cover for Donald Trump in the context of that interview, because he is terrified of Donald Trump, much like Ducey was, because Ducey did not want to engage in any type of public scuffle with Donald Trump. And so he tried to keep his powder dry while trying to also do the right thing, which he did do to his credit. However, that did not persuade Trump to avoid attacking him. Ducey was planning to run for a Senate seat, but ultimately decided against it after his relationship with the MAGA base had soured following his unwillingness to do what Trump wanted him to do.
So Doug Ducey and Mike Pence in this case are both a mixed bag. So you got to give credit to both of them for doing the right thing and not participating in the coup. And they were critical parts going, Ducey saying, sorry, you have no evidence. I'm not gonna overturn results with no evidence. So a little bit of a hero for that. Mike Pence, look man, I got 1,000 issues with the guy, but that guy did not leave the building when the Secret Service said, Mr. Vice President, Trump supporters are coming to murder you. They were chanting, hang Mike Pence. And he said, I'm not leaving, okay? He deserves enormous credit for that. Having said that, both Ducey and Pence are both protecting Trump here for their own political careers. I mean, Pence saying that there was no pressure. Are you kidding me? No one on earth believes that, right? And it'd be way more believable a lie if you said, well, there was a lot of pressure on me, okay? And I'm sure that there was pressure on Governor Ducey, but not out of bounds. Not illegal. You could say that, right? And that's a more credible lie. But saying there was no pressure is absurd. And so there's a second reason why they don't do it, not just politics, because they're worried it's going to implicate themselves. If Pence says, yeah, Trump pressured me and I pressured Ducey, then he's on the hook. So that's why he's got to lie.
Well, sure. I definitely think in the case of Mike Pence, that could be true. But I do think that for the vast majority of Republican lawmakers who have provided cover for Trump, and in a way that would be puzzling to anyone thinking, in a rational way, it's always about politics. I mean, I'll give you an example from just this past weekend, because one of the other individuals who time to time is willing to speak out against Donald Trump is Senator Lindsey Graham. He appeared at a Trump rally over the weekend. Let's take a quick look at what the reception was.
Oh no.
One person who disagreed with Trump about overturning the election was South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, booed today by Trump's loyal supporters.
Even Lindsey down here, Senator Lindsey Graham, we love Senator Graham. We're gonna love him.
So they booed him because of those disagreements with Trump, even though Trump was saying, we're gonna love him.
No, he's such a sad little collaborator. Like they just bring him out every once in a while now as like a puppet to kick around a little bit.
It's so embarrassing.
It's the most wonderfully humiliating thing I have ever seen in politics. And man, American politics is full of humiliations. But Lindsey Graham coming out there and going, well, I mean, maybe we should have a democracy. And then they're like, boo! And then he comes out the next time, he's like, oh, Trump is the best. Where's his boots? I love them, they're delicious. And they're still like, boo, you loser. He's like, okay, no problem.
But
Lindsey Graham, Jesus, man. Self-respect, he's never even heard of it.
You can't straddle the providing Trump cover category and the I'm a rational thinker who's gonna speak my mind category. You can't straddle it, you gotta pick. And Lindsey Graham clearly tried to straddle, it's not working out for him. And as you can see from other individuals in the Republican Party who have refused to go along with Trump's demands, they know they've lost support among Trump supporters, which is exactly why Ducey is no longer, at least for now, seeking a Senate seat.
Yeah, but unlike Doug Ducey and Mike Pence, who at least have some redeeming qualities, like Pence doing the right thing and not violating the Constitution and not trying to participate in the coup, Ducey saying, no, you need evidence and you have no evidence and we're gonna let the vote stand. Those are huge redeeming qualities for otherwise mixed politicians. Lindsey Graham has zero redeeming qualities. Warmonger, serves the rich, loves tax cuts for the rich, wrong in every way, shape, and form, a disgusting, corrupt politician who's also a sniveling little weasel who humiliates himself for kink. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get
playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.